Tottenham have rejected Manchester City's £100 million plus player bid for Harry Kane this Monday afternoon as City step up their pursuit of the Spurs and England striker. It's going to be a busy couple of days, busy couple of weeks, and certainly a busy summer right down to transfer deadline day as Manchester City continue to push to get this deal done. And there are many differing reports coming out in the last hour or so. We're going to run through every single one of them to tell you exactly what you need to know, including a very, very big difference in opinion between Fabrizio Romano and Alistair Gold. Before I do get into that, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to make sure you get kept up to date on all of this, plus Tottenham's pursuit of a manager. Make sure to hit that like button as well if you're looking forward to this stream. And look, let's go minute by minute how this happened, how this broke down, and what the current situation with Harry Kane is. And Fabrizio Romano was the first to chime in on this one and to give us a bit of an update that we didn't exactly want, and that is that Manchester City had made a bid for Harry Kane. It's a bid that has definitely fallen short of Tottenham's expectations, and it's definitely fallen short of the Tottenham fans' expectations as well. So what Fabrizio Romano had to say about an hour and a half ago, or sorry, earlier than that, it was 3 hours ago at this rate, this came out. Manchester City have made an official proposal to Tottenham for Harry Kane, £100 million guaranteed, plus availability to include players in the deal. Tottenham have no intention to accept. Harry wants to go, but Levy will try to keep him. Harry is now focused on the Euros, then it will be decided. And when Romano was on the channel on Saturday, he said exactly that there may be some developments in the next couple of days between the clubs. However, if any agreement was to be reached, it would absolutely have to be after the Euros, as Harry Kane tries to refine the form after the criticism he's gotten over the last couple of games. Romano quote tweeted that a little bit later and said, official bid already sent from Manchester City for Harry Kane, £100 million guaranteed as fee. Manchester City available to include players in the deal. These players include Sterling, Aymeric Laporte and Gabriel Jesus. Tottenham have no intention to accept this bid and nothing decided during the Euros. So a fairly compact breakdown of everything that Romano has been told on this deal. So £100 million guaranteed, plus players City willing to offer Sterling, Laporte or Gabriel Jesus. Now news has broken since then that Raheem Sterling has absolutely no interest in being included in any sort of a deal with Tottenham, and the issue remains that Spurs will struggle to pay Raheem Sterling's wages if he were to be part of that deal. Manchester Evening News said that sources at both Manchester City and Tottenham have said an official bid has not yet been made, which is the first kind of differing report that came out with regards to Fabrizio Romano's story. The Telegraph have said, Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph said that Manchester City have not officially lodged a bid. However, they have told Harry Kane that they have, which, if the news of the bid has been made isn't true, well, then that bid is certainly coming. Now, as far as I know, from what I've been told, is that a bid has been made and Spurs immediately rejected that. Alistair Gold has since as well said there are no bids between Manchester City and Spurs for this, which is where I think the crazy summer from Spurs continues, because it's not often you see Fabrizio Romano and Alistair Gold come out with such opposing stories. However, it's the second time that has happened in the space of about a week, with Romano saying that the Paulo Fonseca deal fell through because of fiscal matters, whereas Alistair Gold saying it was purely a case of Spurs being having their heads turned by Gennaro Gattuso. Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph also said that, and I forget there was a story that I was going to bring there, it just slipped my mind at the moment. But yeah, Man City are not expected to cap their interest in Harry Kane at £100 million, and Tottenham would not accept players in exchange. Raheem Sterling isn't interested in being used as a makeweight. So Man City are going to come back in for this one. Again, from what I've been told, a bid has been made. It was 100% true that offer did go in, but Spurs rejected it immediately. They said no straight away. They will do everything in their power to keep Harry Kane at the club, which I think has been expected. It's what everybody would have expected from this. Kane does want to go, but he's not expected to hand in a transfer request or anything like that. But that, in a weird roundabout way, is the only way that he would actually get this move, is if he did put in a transfer request. Something might change there, but as it stands at the moment, Spurs want in excess of £150 million if they are to even entertain any sort of an offer for Harry Kane. And it is Manchester City who are the number one team trying to get him out of Spurs, and it's the team that he wants to go to. But the simple fact remains that Harry Kane has almost 3 years left on his contract, so it's not really in his power. It is completely in Tottenham's control right now, where the situation goes. And I don't think anybody will deny that if a bid big enough comes in, that Daniel Levy will accept it. If enough money is offered, he will 100% have his head turned, and he will be willing to accept that for whether it is just players or players plus cash, whatever it is. So this isn't one that we can, because Daniel Levy right now is saying he wants to keep him, we can't simply just accept, okay, well, that's that, he's saying at Spurs. There's still a lot of room for manoeuvre in this one, and still a lot of potential for Manchester City to come back in and try and get a deal done. Now, Alistair Gold has also said, with the discussions with Paulo Fonseca over the last week or so, he was told to plan for the season ahead with Harry Kane in that team. And this is a point that I kind of touched on in the last couple of days, and this is purely a personal feeling, that in whatever managerial negotiations Daniel Levy does enter into, or Fabio Paratici, whoever it is, they're going to say that Harry Kane will stay at the club, because that is a very, very strong bargaining chip for Spurs, for whatever manager they want to bring in. It was used with Antonio Conte as well, and again, we're hearing Paulo Fonseca was also told the same. However, that could really quickly change. If a manager comes in, Daniel Levy could then he could be more open to a move away, because he's not trying to convince someone to come into the club. And that was a concern for me with regards to Antonio Conte, especially when it did look as though that was a deal that could be completed a couple of weeks ago. If he had been promised Harry Kane would stay at the club, and then he signed that contract, joined the team, then Harry Kane is sold, Antonio Conte is the type of man to just walk out the door and say, well, I was promised this, I didn't get it, I'm off. I'm not dealing with this, because that immediately is a major setback for him in his time at Spurs, when he hasn't even really got started. I see a lot of people talking about what players we would accept in a swap deal. Just to reiterate, Man City's bid is £100 million plus players with the likes of Aymeric Laporte, Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus. Man City are willing to offer them. Sterling seems out of the question. He's not interested. Aymeric Laporte, I think, is, if we could pick a player from Manchester City that would fit into our team, I think Aymeric Laporte is exactly that man. We've been in pursuit of a left-sided centre-back for quite some time, especially since the departure of Jan Vertonghen. And Aymeric Laporte, well, he's one of the best in the Premier League at that. And he struggled to get into that City team last year with Ruben Diaz and John Stones on such fantastic form. But he's still an incredibly talented player. Of course, switched his allegiance to Spain and is having a very decent start to the European Championships as well. So if I could pick any player from Manchester City that I would accept in a deal, Aymeric Laporte is certainly top of that. But then it's a question of how much money would you need to put on top of that to make it a more attractive deal for Spurs. And well, straight out, we need if Kane does go, we need a striker. And you could hope that we would kind of maybe get another one or two players in that money. And you're looking maybe at a right back, we could need 20-25 million for Aaron Lamptey, maybe a centre midfielder as well. Aaron, thank you for subscribing. So £100 million, is that enough? Is that enough to get a striker that would replace Harry Kane? I mean, Lautaro Martinez and Inter Milan, his future is certainly in doubt at the moment with their willingness to sell players in order to raise funds. Could he potentially be on the move? How much then would it take to attract him? And the name's really being thrown around in the press if Spurs actually let Kane go, or even strikers that we could bring in as backup to Kane if he does stay. Danny Ings seems to be the highest quality player in that list, which isn't even 10% of what we would need to replace Harry Kane. So if we're getting Aymeric Laporte and cash, I would want that to be 140, 150 million pounds, which simply is not realistic. And that simply won't happen. And I would hope the Spurs are in a similar mindset, that it will have to be, as Fabrizio Romano has put it in the last couple of weeks, a crazy bid in order to see Kane go. And they're again, the bargaining chips are completely in Spurs' hands, and unless there is something that could completely 100% tempt us to let this go, that would actually improve our team, it's not going to happen. And what can we really do to improve our team if Harry Kane leaves? We're in a very bad situation there if it does happen. So I think I go back and forth in this quite a bit, but at the moment I'm quite confident that Spurs will be able to keep Kane at the club. Ben says Tottenham fully have the cards and we are in another transition period, so selling Harry would be disastrous. And that is it. Again, like I said, Spurs want to keep him for at least one more season. And look, this is probably the second or third season that we've heard that. But in the past, we were keeping him because we felt he was that one step, that last man that we needed to kind of bring us to that level of success. Where now we're looking to stabilize the club and get back to a situation where we can look towards getting back into the Champions League. So we need him to kind of put us back on a more positive direction. And in a year's time, well, maybe then with 2 years left on this contract, we would be in a position more where we would have to let him go to protect our own financial side and things like that. So I really don't think it's even an option for Tottenham this summer to let Harry Kane go. Mark says there's no way Sterling, Laporte or Jesus go from Champions League to Conference League, and that is another thing to contend with. Man City can't just simply say, we'll give you Aymeric Laporte. Aymeric Laporte, of course, still has to agree to that deal. And what players in that Manchester City side would we be willing to take at Spurs that would take that step down? I can't imagine Laporte would step down to the Europa Conference League. As much as he would be the perfect signing for us, it's not realistic. Joao Cancelo, I seem to be mentioned in the chat, Raheem Sterling as well. They simply won't make that step down. And I think that in a roundabout way is good for Spurs, because there's less and less bids and less options there for Manchester City to tempt us to actually part ways with Harry Kane, which again leans towards potentially the striker being at Spurs next season. William Campbell there mentioned Nathan Ake. Again, if it was going to be Ake, I'd want more than 150. I'd want closer to 200 million if Ake was going to come in, because we need... kind of looking at the value of Aymeric Laporte. If a club were to come in for Laporte now, considering he didn't play too much last season, I think maybe about 50 million is what you pay for him. So that's kind of the way I'm judging this, using him in the place of 50 million in some sort of deal there. According to Transfermarkt, he is worth 40 million pounds. So maybe even pushing that cash bid up a little bit more. Rob from the Last Minute Winner podcast says, if Kane leaves and you get 100 million for him, Levy will sign 15 million players. And look, do you know what? That is the next question. How would we approach the rebuild? And I genuinely think going out and getting a marquee striker, like if it were an option, which it absolutely isn't, but like Erling Braut Haaland, isn't the way to go about this, because we have Harry Kane in our team, but we're still a 7th place side. We're still below West Ham. We're still just above Arsenal, just above Villa, Leeds. So if we were to let Harry Kane go, and let's just imagine we got in £200 million, I don't want all that or most of that splash on a striker, because we need to find a bit of balance in the squad. And yes, it may be having a lower grade striker than we would prefer, but it strengthens that defence and strengthens that midfield in there as well. So on the point of getting 6 £15 million players, I think it would be a bit better than that. But Rob, that could be seen as a criticism of Levy, but I think maybe that's the route that Spurs need to go in this one. Brian Daigle from Tottenham Away, good to see you in the live chat as always, Brian. Thank you so much for tuning in. Says, exactly, we might be offered players, but who in their right mind is going to want to come to us? Simple as that. Who is going to want to come to Spurs? Killian Kenny, good to see you in the live chat there as well. Alan says, sorry, I love Harry, but a deal has to be struck. He wants to go, let him go. Don't want anyone who doesn't want to be here. And that's another way to look at this. Letting him go, or holding on to him in a situation where he so desperately wants to leave, could have a negative effect on Spurs. Now, he's not the man to down tools. He's not the type of man who will actively be a negative force in the dressing room or anything like that. He will be a professional and he will play well, but we're seeing his performances at the Euros now. I really don't think the criticism of him is warranted. He hasn't been at his best, but he's not as bad as people are saying. And then, is all of this affecting him? Is next year, as he's thinking, well, I could be at City, I could be winning another Premier League, I could be winning an FA Cup or whatever, that there will be an effect on him there. He won't be the player that he was last season. As much as he will try his best and be professional, there will be an effect on that. And I said it kind of throughout the season when I wasn't really expecting something so big to happen this summer on this front. I said if Kane wants to leave, well, then I want him to leave on a personal front, rather than a Spurs front, because he's given so much to this club. And yes, he has got missing in the big games at times, and yes, we broke our wage structure. He has got some things in return, but he hasn't got enough. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, the second best striker in world football right now, behind only Robert Lewandowski, who, if he doesn't win that Ballon d'Or, I'm going to riot. He is the second best striker in the world. He's top 5, top 7 players in the world. He deserves better than the squad that he's playing with. And I fully understand that for financial reasons and for every footballing reason you can think of, Spurs need to keep Harry Kane. But on a personal level, seeing him, I'd like to see him move on to City. On that personal level, from Spurs front, I want him to stay. So there is that kind of conflict of interest and all that. But if he leaves, it's City who I do want him to go to. Sam says we'd be silly to reject their bid. Cody, good to see you in there, says starting to see nothing positive to be gained from keeping Kane. We aren't winning anything next season. And that's it as well. Even if we keep Harry Kane, are we going to win something? Is this squad, if we get in a centre-back, a right-back, a centre-mid, and all the other positions we need to address, are we still going to win something? Like, keeping Harry Kane may be the difference between finishing 8th and finishing 6th next season. And that is the sad truth of it. Kyle, thank you very much for subscribing. We're not going to... I really can't see us in any way being back in that top 4 race. And I even said this when we were about to appoint Antonio Conte and we were being linked to all these incredible players in the Serie A. Getting a manager in like that and getting players in like that, we still can't judge our expectations and our hopes or what's going to happen us in the league based on us and us alone. We have to look at the fact that Manchester City are potentially one of the strongest teams England has ever seen. Chelsea really, really growing under Thomas Tuchel. I think will be up there next season. Liverpool, they're going to be better next year than they were with the season just gone as they start to get their players back. And all of a sudden, there's only one spot left in that top four. And we were so far behind Man United last season. We were behind Leeds. Arsenal might come back up if they make some good signings. Aston Villa might be up there. We can't judge our expectations based solely on us. We are so far behind so many other teams. So, as Cody says, we're not going to win anything next season. Harry Kane could simply be the difference between getting back in the Conference League or making it back into the Europa League again. Rob says, Matt, he is as bad as people are saying, but I don't think it's fully down to him. Southgate isn't helping him whatsoever. He looks like he's with Kane playing with England. Rob, no. Brian says, he's talking to Simon. Aaron says, would love to try and push for Laporte and Bernardo Silva if it came to it. Only two I care about. And Bernardo Silva is another option. I think he could be that experienced head in midfield. He's not the most athletic, most energetic. I'd say in a way he could be a replacement for Christian Eriksen after we sold him to Inter Milan. But more experience, maybe a bit more quality as well. I'm a big fan of Bernardo Silva. He struggled in the league the last couple of years, but a very, very talented player as well. But again, would he make that step down to Spurs? I really can't see it happening. I think Bernardo Silva could get a move to almost anybody on the continent. And, if it's going to be PSG or Bayern Munich or something like that, could be guaranteed a league year in, year out. So as much as we can talk about which Manchester City players we want, which ones want Spurs? And I don't think there are many of them that would. Even, if you want to look at the kind of lower grade of Manchester City's first team and the likes of Alexander Zinchenko and all that, he's not going to want Tottenham. And that is the sad truth. And that's exactly what we need to take into consideration at the moment. I'm expecting quite a bit to be said about this one over the next couple of days. Jonathan Veal has just said in the last couple of minutes that Tottenham will not allow Harry Kane to leave the club this summer. He will be playing for Spurs on the 1st of September when the window closes. And it's worth pointing out, I have the odds beside me there for Harry Kane to Manchester City. But as it stands, Tottenham are the bookies' favourites to employ Harry Kane when the new season starts. 5-4 with Sky Bet, 6-5 with Boyle Sports, and odds on with 888 Sport as well. So it does look likely, as it stands, that Kane will be a Spurs player next season. But again, this could change very quickly. Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph saying Manchester City will not cap their interest in Harry Kane at £100 million. They will up that bid as this afternoon. As I understand, this bid has been rejected by Spurs. It was rejected immediately. So quite a bit that will happen over the coming days and the coming weeks. Brian says, I was talking to Simon about what Ali Gold said. With 2 weeks before pre-season, the only managers that will come are out of work. This is the mess we are in. What's your thoughts? And that's exactly it. I mean, any manager that's at a club right now, they've already started working for next season. Erik ten Hag, as much as he's apparently still interested in the job, Ajax aren't going to let him go because they've started planning with him for the new season. Mauricio Pochettino has started planning with PSG. He started making some very impressive signings as well with Gini Wijnaldum and Gigi Donnarumma as well. So any manager that we're going to potentially bring in is not going to be top of that list. And look, a quick note on the managerial front. Graham Potter flew to the top of the betting odds this morning or this afternoon as our new manager. Odds continue to shorten on him throughout the afternoon. 3-1 with Sky Bet, 2-1 with William Hill, and 5-2 with Bet Victor and Boyle Sports. So right now, the favourite is Graham Potter, but that's been changing quite a bit over the last couple of days. I've seen it in the last 48 hours. It's been Erik ten Hag, Roberto Martinez, Nuno Espirito Santo, and Ernesto Valverde. But odds drifting on so many managers. Odds essentially drifting on every manager that isn't Graham Potter. But Paul Barber, the Brighton chief executive, remains adamant that he will not let Graham Potter go, and he will be in charge of Brighton next season, which comes back into your point there, Brian. They're not going to let him go. David says, their shots were, no, not my Harry. This is devastating news, Matt. Well, look, it is devastating, David. If there's any encouragement I can give you, the words that are being said right now, aside from the fact that Spurs have rejected this bid, is essentially that Tottenham will not let Harry Kane go this summer. And that's all we need to hear. We can hear all we want about City bidding 100, 110, 120 million pounds, offering us every player under the sun. If Spurs don't want to sell, Spurs don't have to sell because they have the bargaining chips in this one with Kane having signed that 3-year contract a couple of years ago. And that is the main thing to take from the stream, I would say. But look, make sure to smash that like button if you have enjoyed the stream, or if you are happy that Spurs are not going to let Harry Kane go. We got 360 people watching and just 53 likes, so let's go get those likes up to 100 as quickly as we can. Also, we are on the road to 100,000, God, I wish it was to 100,000. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers before the season starts. So please hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. We're currently 87 away from 9,000, which is baffling to me considering we ended the season with 6,500. Fabrizio Romano, of course, was on the channel on Saturday. I spoke to him about managers, transfers and all that. So if you haven't seen that and you do want to catch up on all of the latest on the managerial front. Make sure to check that video out, available on my channel right now. And Romano will be back on the channel this transfer window, so if you want to make sure you get access to that video, hit that subscribe button down below, and I'll bring an update as quickly as I can and when that is going to be. But I'm telling you here first that Fabrizio Romano will be back on this channel before the transfer window closes. If you are looking for access to exclusive content and to exclusive call-in shows as well, do make sure to hit that join button down below, where you can become a channel member starting at just £1.99 per month. Today is actually Mick McCoy's channel membership anniversary. He's been a member for 2 months. So Mick, thank you very much for that, and thank you to our 50 plus other channel members as well. But we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Brian, David, Rob, Lappers, talking about the Green Army as always, all the usuals. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll have some better news, or some more good news, I suppose, on the Kane front in the not too distant future. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.